Welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. Let's get started. Let's see who do we have out here. Welcome. Gonna have me this Snapple tea today for tea time. Welcome. Let's see who do we have here. Give me just a second. I want to show you all my shirt. And can I have that phone, please? I want to show you all my shirt. Let's see. And tell you all about my trip as well. This tea is very refreshing. Thank you, daughter. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll be getting started in 1 second. Just welcome. Thanks for joining in. And I want to start off with a big shout out and a congratulations to Khadijah and Chris. They celebrated their wedding and joined together as one on this past Saturday in New Orleans. It was great. Shout out to her family, her mom and dad, for such an awesome wedding. And so thankful to have been there and been a part of it. I do want to say that we really enjoyed it. Was really nice. Crime was kind of busy down there, but we stayed out of those unsafe areas. But I definitely enjoyed the experience. That was my first time in New Orleans, so I definitely enjoyed that experience. I also want to give a shout out to Layla, hey Donald. Layla will be graduating from Suitland High School. I believe it's June 6th. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I definitely want to give a big shout out to her celebrating her graduation. Thank you, sister. And I definitely want to give a happy birthday shout out to my niece Michaela. She turned the big 12 today, so she's celebrating her birthday. We're gonna try to get out there to her to get her gift. And let's see, I think that was it for the shout outs for today. Was there any more? Did I leave any off? So today is a follow up from our topic from last week. We talked about cliques within cliques. Last week we talked about being in friend circles and feeling like your friend circle has a friend circle outside of you and what that looks like, and talking about some techniques to moving along with that. So this week we're going to talk about favoritism in a family. So it's going to be almost as if similar to the one we just had. And we're going to talk about favoritism in families and what that looks like. So I do want to stand up. My screen just froze a little bit. So I do want to stand up. Hey, Yanni. And I want you all to see my shirt. Let's see. K month ended on yesterday, May 31st. And I enjoyed K month as always. And I have another shirt that I didn't get to wear either, and I hopefully that I will get to um, get that shirt on. I know it's June now, so of course it ain't about me any longer, but I just wanted to get my shirt because I really like this shirt, and purple is my favorite color. So I want to make sure you all get the 47th birthday queen. Hey, niece, good to see you joining today. So we're going to talk about what favoritism looks like and from the family perspective. I know one of the things that we're going to touch on today is favoritism amongst grandchildren. We're going to start there, and then we'll talk about it in family as a whole. I know I've heard people say for a long time, whether it's adult children, or whether it's smaller children, and you remember from being a child, that some people really feel that their grandparents have favoritism amongst the grandchildren. So right now we're going to start off with saying if that's something that you agree with. Do you feel that grandparents, and of course, we're going to talk about parents. We're going to talk about other family members. Do you feel that grandparents have favoritism amongst their grandchildren? Would you say yes, no, maybe so? I would like to hear from you. Do grandparents have favoritism amongst their grandchildren? And if that's the case, what does that look like? Okay, and they do. And do you think that is something that's witnessed in our childhood and kind of goes into our adulthood? Do you feel like it's a conversation? Because remember that this is your grandparent, so most of us may not say anything to our grandparent directly, but I know that I vow to try to be, and my granddaughters are young, and even if you don't feel like you're that way, sometimes it will come out and be said that way. But I know that my grandkids are younger, and I try to, deal with them accordingly. Some people say the oldest one is special. Some people say that the baby is special, but I do, yes, some do, but there are ways to handle it. Okay, so let's talk about some ways to handle it, right? So if you're a kid, it's not much that you can do. But as a parent and you notice that your child's grandparent is showing favoritism, what do you do? Like, how do you deal with that? Grandparents and parents have favoritism, but it's natural because the kids can have favorites too. Okay, so you think sometimes children may have a favorite grandparent also. But when I'm talking about not just favoritism in itself, like, or not connection, because yours is talking about having favorites, and I like to sometimes use the word favorite. But what I'm talking about is treating them fairly. Like, is it okay for a grandmother, a granddad, to buy one grandchild a Christmas gift and not the other, to spend quality time with one grandchild? Hey, Christian, glad to see you back. To spend quality time with one grandchild and not the other, or to or to get them, because all the time, like we talked before with grandparents, they're not always able to get the child, but they can do for them. So right now, Christian, we're talking about okay, so you already know what's going on. We're talking about grandparents treating children differently. And how do you deal with that? So is anyone experiencing that now or know someone? Remember, if you're ever uncomfortable with just saying it directly, you can always send a text to me, and it can be addressed anonymously at 202-758-8941, because we really want to know. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Try to address why. Like, is there a basic? If there are unfair basis, I would let the grandparents know that you can't blamingly play favoritism in my kids' face. Right. So it should definitely be a conversation, right? And let's talk about how it looks when it's normally the male's child, right? So we all have the saying, how does that saying go? Mama's maybe, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Okay, so you never had the grandparent experience. Okay, so any favoritism or anything like that. Okay, and I know that people tend to feel like that people are closer to mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Okay, so we feel like people are closer to the maternal side of the family. So that means that when there's a child, we're going to talk about cousins and things of that nature. When there's a child, so let's say I am the only girl and with my mom and my brother, so it's just me. So does that make my brothers tend to be more drawn to things that my kids are doing and my grandkids are doing, as opposed to if it's a brother's child? So I think that we pretty much are close net, but at times things like that do happen, and it can be for various reasons. Like, Dayon said that sometimes people just treat people differently. And I want to share what our topic next week will be about, where we'll be talking about kids and playing a role of how they deal with things differently with mom's side of the family versus dad's side of the family. And kids sometimes want to know why they're slighted, or if parents have feelings too, and like enough is enough. So we're going to talk about that next week. So just going back, can anyone recall anything that they remember growing up as a child that made them feel like there was favoritism amongst cousins? Like, grandma treated one set of siblings or one group of kids different than the others. I've heard people say things about complexion, the length of the hair. Yes, because kids actually come out of the woman, so is your relative. Your brother kids might not be. But let's talk about that, Christian. We're waiting for some other responses to come in. But let's talk about that, because you all know that I am an adopted mom, and I want all my kids to be loved the same. So I want my brothers and my sisters to love all my children as well as my parents, and my mom is one of those people that's not that way. But none of my grandparents treated me that way. Thank God, right? But I want them to be all loved the same. So even if you have that saying where, okay, so it may not be his baby, I totally believe that if that person acknowledges that child as theirs, it's their child. So whether it's a child through marriage, whether it's a child through like, so if you had a husband, well, Christian, if you had a wife, I should say, if you had a wife, that child would be my niece, nephew, my bonus grandchild or whatever, just like CJ. So I don't really get caught up with that, but that is a very important topic. I was the first and the favorite child. She made sure everyone knew it as a kid. I thought it was cool. Okay, so you said you felt that it was cool being a favorite, but let's look at the picture of how it may have felt from the kids who noticed that it was made clear that you were the favorite, right? My children's grandmother showed favoritism towards my son. I told their dad, and he didn't see it until Christmas came around. We left. He went back and had a talk with his mom. Okay, great, great. So just kind of like favoritism to one child. And these now, would that be like an extended family, or just like, is that like a situation where I was talking where like I have adopted kids and I want you to treat my adopted kids the same way you treat the other children? Or is it just that it was like a situation where this is the baby, so we just going to treat that one extra special? But my maternal grandmother is funny towards some kids. Yes, my mother has definitely been that person. I've always called her out on it, always letting her understand that you can't do that, because kids remember those things. They can't remember what you said, but they definitely remember how you felt, right? I just removed my children from the whole situation. Okay, right, because they don't have to stand for that. And I'm glad that you all did get to, stress that, because people need to know when they're wrong. So meaning that, yeah, they may not change, but you're going to hear me, and I feel like this is wrong. I'm not saying that I'm staying far as they might see the sister kids more, because it's from her. Okay, from her and the kids, but you may see them less. Okay, they're right, because of the bond with that side of the family, and that's sometimes is the case. And I think that favoritism does have a lot to do with the dominant side of the family. And I'm learning that the dominant doesn't always have to be the mom side of the family. Like when I was growing up, it was the mom's side of the family was dominant. But I think in Nala's situation, she has a very dominant father side of the family, because like all of her uncles and aunts on her father's side adores her, right? Being the favorite is pretty neat. Of course, yeah, you were saying for being a favorite. If I see my sister kids more, it's going to be more of a bond with them. Right. So, like, for instance, Christian, you see Mimi kids, but you may see my kids more than Mimi kids, even though my kids are a little older now. But you were very close with my kids growing up. Not talking about Pookie and Yanni age, but I'm talking about Sanaya and Samantha, like babysitting them, being involved with them a whole lot. Right. I feel uncomfortable. I'm getting a text. I feel uncomfortable being treated differently when it comes to family, because it affects the kids' relationship. It definitely does. I have a text coming in. Let's see if it's pertaining to the show. Because cannot say who the text come from. We just shares what the text says, right? As a kid, I thought it was cool, but um, being an adult now, who sees the favoritism with a different family member, definitely gives me a different point. Okay, so right, because like you said, it's not so fun. Hey, sister, it's not so fun when you're it's fun when you're the favorite one. Let me say that. So it's fun when you're the favorite one, but what about when you're not the favorite one? So we want to know, how does that feel? I love all my nieces and nephews, but I'm more close to Mimi kids as I've been around them more. Yes, definitely, because some of your siblings, children, you haven't seen as often, right? I think that even if favoritism comes naturally, you can know how to turn it on when the child who does come around. Okay, so let's talk about that, because like with me, um, Pookie may have felt that Yanni was spoiled. Yanni to this day feel like Pookie is spoiled. So sometimes it's from person's perspective, right? So how do you like truly deal with that when it comes from from someone else's perspective, right? So I think that bonds with children are different, because we sometimes say, hey, my grandmother treats me different, my parents treat me different. But what if you're that person that's not really being able to gravitate to what what the person is given. So meaning that, like, what if you're a child, because you know you have family members that you're just not that close to, and what if there's a reason why you're not close to them? What if sometimes if it's their behavior, right? So we have to look at that when talking about that as well. I was comparing Mimi kids to Hope and Leave. Okay, got it right. I caught that. I love BJ, but I didn't always like the way everyone was treated, and that was my experience. So growing up as a child, my mom is my grandmother's only daughter. I am my mom's only daughter, and Dayon is my only biological daughter. So for my generation spending off, we only had one daughter, right? And with that being said, I like to say that I was spoiled. So I wasn't spoiled with like riches, but it was nothing that I did not have. But my cousin, on the other hand, they treated horrible, right? And my cousin was my grandmother's sister granddaughter, and they treated her horrible. And I did not understand it right away until I was older and see how it affected her so much. Because you know, as a kid, and you getting all the attention, you like laughing, you he, you smiling, you don't have a problem with it. But know that if you notice that you're the favorite and you notice that they're treating another person different, then you can imagine how that person feels, right? Um, it's like the movie Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, when Martin's father revealed the reason he was a little softer with the nephew cousin he raised because the cousin left. Oh, okay, okay. So this was not like a brother and sister thing. So because the nephew lost the father, he felt like he had like an allegiance. Because sometimes that happens in family. You feel like you have an allegiance to someone for certain reasons, right? Okay, let's see if I have another text. Um, I also feel like my grandmother's I always feel like I was my grandmother's favorite because all of the other grandkids had their parents. Let's see. Okay, my grandmother was my parents. So my grandma was my parents. So I feel like she gave a little extra love. And that makes a lot of sense. So, Dayon, the point of view that you just stated, as well as the text that I just received, do make people sometimes overcompensate for the child. So, if I have two grandkids, right, and one of my grandkids doesn't have a parent, and I'm so glad that they do, but it tends to make you want to fill in the gap and do a little bit more because you're being conscious. Hey, this child over here has no parents, this child over here has two parents. So where I may buy the child that does not have a parent at all 10 gifts, and I may buy the child that has both parents 5 gifts, it's not that I'm trying to be unfair about the situation. I'm just being conscious to the situation. So what is your take on that? Like, how do you feel about that? Because sometimes we as grandparents are raising our grandchildren, right? So they would receive a little bit more intimate care from us than a grandchild that we're not raising. Sometimes our grandkids live in a home with us, and it makes it a little bit more different, right? But what about parents? Okay, so we talked about grandparents and we kind of really went in on that. Let's talk about parents. Do you feel that parents have favoritism amongst their children, right? That's honestly why I do not want to have any more kids. I do not want y'all to feel like the slighted stepchild in the home with sibling who has both parents. And that's very understandable because kids go through that. So now we're coming down to the parent level, and then we're going to go down to the children. So on the parent level, do people feel that parents treat their children differently? That's a noble thing, but kids won't understand why. And right, and Christian, that was your whole perspective. You would tell me when you were older growing up, hey, I will buy you some clothes, but it was never as many as Pookie. So you have to realize, like, when you get older, like, well, hey, she bought me these 5 outfits, or why he always get 10 and I always get 5? Like, that's favoritism. But the dynamic of the situation, when you get a little older, you can understand it a little better and see things a little clearly. I think favoritism is something that happens naturally because when you're first it's going to be like that even for the grandchildren, but I do not believe that it's something that can be grown out of. I said that because my son like being my only child. Exactly, definitely. Like, so with CJ, he's going to know things differently because he's going to probably always get more than his other siblings, or he's probably going to always get more than than from one side of the family than the other side of the family. So what do you think about that from the parent level? Do parents show favoritism? And it could be for various reasons. Like, say, like, if you have a parent and your parent did not raise all of her children, right? That's one scenario. She did not raise all of her children, or she may have raised some of them but did not raise the others, right? But sometimes parents feel like whether I raise you or not, I still should get the same accolades that parents get who actually raise their kids. What is your feelings on that? Yes, his brothers is his mother's favorite child, right? And it just seems that way sometimes because they're younger. But what does that look like? Do you feel that you as an adult, because now you're an adult, right? Do you feel like being an adult that and you were not raised by your parent? It could be for various reasons. They could have been incarcerated. They could have been ill. They could have been a younger parent. So many different things. Do you feel that regardless of the reason that you did not raise me, hey, I forgive you, right? We talk about forgiving. Hey, I forgive you that you didn't raise me. But do you deserve the same accolades that you give to someone who that someone is given to their parent that raised them, opposed to someone who did not raise them? What is your take on that? Should it just be, hey, it's all the same, I'm just going to treat everybody the same, no big deal? Okay, so you don't think so, right? So do you feel that, with going back to grandparents a little bit with the whole favoritism piece, do you feel that if you are a parent, right, and you did not raise your children for whatever reason, right, and now you all have connected again, do you expect more from your grandparent? Well, no, that's your parent. Let me back a little bit. I'm sorry. Do you expect more from your parent being involved in your child's life? So, hey, I'm a mom. I was a young mom. I didn't get to raise Spooky and Yanni. I wasn't able to be there for them like I should have. We didn't live in a household. They live with my parents. So now that they're grown, should I extend myself more to their children, right? Like the kind of like, hey, I want to really be this grandmother to them because I wasn't there for their parents. Do you feel like that's something that parents should do? Like, you're older now, all old things are passed away. Now we're dealing with new. Now that you're a better person, you're more mature, you're more older, you're more stable. Where are you in my child's life? Where are you, right? Because now you have an opportunity, because you was not there for me, right? But we moved on from that. I'm grown now. I go to work. I get my own paycheck. Should you be in my child's life, and what does that look like? And then, is there favoritism amongst parents when you've raised some children but you don't raise others? So say for instance, you may have had children, they went into care, you have a younger child. Those older children see how you interact with that younger child, right? And they can have jealousy and they can feel that it's favoritism, right? The adults should work together for what is best for the child or the children. Definitely work together to try to come to some agreement to be there and be involved, right? I feel like you forfeited the perks that comes with parenting. So do you feel like they should be Christian? So do you feel like they should be more involved with the grandchild? Because, hey, now some people feel like, hey, I haven't truly forgave you for the way that you was not there for me, or I may not have agreed with your parenting style. So it may be me that's not letting you in, right? It may be me that's not letting you in because of the parenting style, okay? Everybody deserves a second chance, but if that person is still immature or dysfunctional, I can't have you watching my kids, right? So if they haven't changed and you know this person more than anybody, you are truly a little hesitant about moving forward or letting them be involved in your child's life and trusting them that your child will be totally comfortable or safe with that person, right? I believe favoritism plays a part as a parent because it's going to be like that naturally when there's a lot of you is going to be categorized by the to spoil one's son. I believe parents do, right? So I definitely feel that parents do, and most parents don't want to hear this. I believe parents show favoritism, and I think some of it is them being mean, because I witnessed some parents that's just mean, and it may not be intentionally, but you're so mean and so condescending and so many other things that it shows itself. But I think sometimes people have different connections with different people, right? So where it may seem that you have a father may have more favoritism with his son, Maybe it's because we could go to a Redskin game together. Maybe we can interact about the wrestling match. Maybe we have more intimate and bonding time, as opposed to as when it's with the mother. Maybe me and my daughter gets up on Saturdays and go get our nails done together, and my son may feel slighted, but I don't really want to take him in the nail shop with me. So it could be for various reasons. But I know one thing I did, speaking from the parent level, when I had all my kids at one time, I would take Wednesdays, and each Wednesdays I would do something individually with my child. And I always encourage parents to do this. If you have multiple children, have something intimate with that child, right? So I know just recently, maybe like not maybe a month ago, me and Donna went together and we got pedicures and we got manicures together, right? So just doing something special with them, and it doesn't have to be expensive at all. It could be for a walk to give your child that moment to talk. It could be for ice cream. Just don't go to Baskin Robbins because of course they're expensive. You know, I love them to pieces. But it could be for minor small things. You know, you might want to just get the ice cream cone from McDonald's for $1. But when it's multiple children and that parent to child ratio, make sure that you as a parent have individual quality time with each of those children, right? Martin always felt like he needed his dad more, but the dad felt like he wanted to treat the cousin a little better because he lost both parents. Okay. Especially with older children. So are you saying especially with older children, meaning that they need their time still when they're older? If you got a child that's succeeding and showing how good your parental skills are, the way they carry themselves as opposed to the problem child, you're gonna like this good one a little bit more. Right. And Christian, that's a very valid point. Who wants to have an intimate Wednesday date with a child and the school is calling you every day about this child? You know, every time I got your backdrop ready and I'm ready to put this heck of a party on for you and make you feel special and make you feel like the one, you do something else crazy. So again, when you talk about you not being people's favorite, make sure you're presenting yourself in a manner to be someone's favorite. That's very important, right? And now let's go from the child's level. Has anyone experienced their children telling them directly that they feel like they have been treated differently with an adult family member? It could be for various of things. They don't show up to your child's birthday party. They don't come to your child's graduation. They don't come to come to see your child or check on your child. Is there anyone that feel like their children are excited? Because remember, we started with grandparents, we came on down to parents, and now we're at the children level. Is there anyone who feels like their child, and of course, if you're not comfortable with sending directly on the air, you can share me a text, I'll share for you. Is there anyone who feels like their child is being slated as right now as we speak, like the grandparent, and it could be the grandparent or the parent doing it to you because of how they feel about you? Because I truly feel like people sometimes treat kids according to how they feel about the parent, right? So because of that, do you feel like they're not showing up purposely to your child's stuff? Do you think it's fair? You know, and like I said, like I always talk about support because I know that like I come from like a truly loving family, and now y'all already want to act out, right? I come from a truly loving family, and I like to be loving, right? So I always talk about having really supported people in my life. But if I can support you, I will support you as well, because sometimes we miss that cue, even with friends. We talked about that with friends last week, but also with family, right? Hey, you don't want to always come to anything I have, but then when you have something, you want me to be there, right? So you have to understand that and be like, hey, am I a person who just, you ain't got to come to my stuff, I ain't coming to yours. I like this really small private circle that I run with. I'm going to stay here. If you're that person, I understand that, and that's fine. But you do have to re-examine yourself if you're that family member who does not support anybody, right? Won't pick up a call or pick up the phone and call nobody to say happy birthday. Won't come to no child recital. But then when you're older, you want someone to bring you flowers, right? Or when you're having something, you want someone to show up. If you're that perfect person, that's totally different than being a person who just likes privacy. So know who you are and what you like, right? And make yourself active in your family members. Like, like I run a lot. I'm always on the go. But any way that I can support someone and make someone feel special or feel like someone's in their corner, I'm going to do it. And I have truly gotten that back in return, right? Because the same way with friends, we talked about it with friends. The same goes for family. If you found like you're a family member that's always putting in, always putting in, always putting in, and when you're ready to do something, you can't get any support, then maybe you're leaning on the wrong family, right? Reach out, meet new family members, interact with new family, right? Because sometimes we don't want to have new connections, right? But the thing about it is, sometimes you may just find a cousin. Like I just found some new family members recently, right? Sometimes you may find, and DNA is real, you may click with them like none other, right? Click with them like none other, right? So it's very important that you try new things and be open. People are always busy for your events, but want everybody in the world at that. Definitely. So don't be that person. Like if I can come or if I can't make something of yours, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be valid. It's not even going to be because I'm tired. It's going to be valid because if I can push on and press on, because I like attention, even though I'm working on not liking it that way because, my spouse, that's like a no-no because it comes in different forms. But at the same time, I know that I like, I'm going to think another word for it. Not going to be attention, it's going to be another. But I like feeling special, right? But I like to make people feel special. Like I spend a lot of time making people feel special because you never truly know what anyone is going through, right? So I challenge you. If you have been a victim of being felt slighted because of favoritism, or if you have been the bubbly one that's shown favoritism, please try to do something to make sure that you're not making a child feel like they're not sufficient. Because when a child does not feel sufficient, it has a lot to do with their self-esteem, their self-worth. It's very important that you instill inside of a child how special they are, how wonderful they are, how much you love them. Now, like with me, I'm not the biggest materialistic person, but I would like to say that I know that I made my son that way. Like, it was nothing like literally like every month he would be going on $700 shopping sprees, and when he was the only child. But and I'm just so thankful that he's not that way at all. But with my granddaughters, I am not as materialistic with them, so of course they can go anywhere they want. There's going to be nowhere that they can't go. They're going to have anything that they want. But if they want to dress up in princess clothes, like princess dresses over and over again, they can wear it over and over again because I'm going to continue to, add to their bank account, add to their bank account. So I'm not one of those big persons on, give you a white tee, you cool. I'm not one of those big persons on putting all that materialistic stuff on children. I'm more impressed with making sure they have a car when they graduate high school. I'm more impressed with paying for their college. I'm more impressed with allowing them to travel, go wherever they want. And if they do come back and say that they want some Balenciagos, they can have that too, right? But I think that should definitely be something that they kind of ask for, because I think sometimes we as parents give these kids all these types of things, and then when the child makes it into college and we can't afford to pay for it, we mad at the child, we rolling our eyes and saying they need to get a part-time job, and we've blown so much money over the years on things that really didn't matter. Because if you ask most 2-year-olds if they would rather have a red fire truck, if it's a boy, or if it's a little girl, would she rather have a Barbie doll as opposed to a Balenciaga? Sometimes those kids would want that fire truck or that doll baby, but instead we want to give them the things that we want or wish that we had, and then it makes us become real angry with them when they don't keep it up. Like when you ain't keeping this $600 shirt clean, I'm mad at you. When really you didn't even have to get the $600 shirt, you could have got a $10 shirt and put the other $5.90 in their bank account. But so just be mindful of that. But what I would like to say, most importantly, treat people right. And sometimes you have to mimic the behavior of how others will treat you to them, right? So all the time, people are not going to treat you like you deserve to be treated, right? But you have to sometimes pull into people. If they're worth it, pull into them. Teach them how you should be treated, whether it's family members, friends. Do not tolerate anyone mistreating you or your children, whether these are your children and you married into the family, whether these are your children and you adopted into the family, whatever the case may be, allow no one to treat your family dynamic differently than anyone else's. So on that note, we're going to get ready to wrap up tea time. Next week, we're talking about graduates, but not only are we talking about graduation, but we're talking about who gets the invitations, who makes it count. Why are mothers, and 9 times out of 10 is mothers, it could be fathers, but why are mothers so gung-ho on controlling these graduation invitations? And I want to hear from you. It may be a valid reason, right? So we're going to talk about that next week. So let's get back here. Let's join in together until we see each other again. Thank you all so much for sipping with a sister.